Something that's not.
You used to tell me it was in the Murdoch Palace.
This wasn't the first Olympics women competed in, though, was it? They competed before.
Only in some sports. So the founder of the modern Olympics, Pierre de Coubertin, he vehemently opposed female participation. He absolutely wasn't having it.
That's Rowan Atkinson.
He vehemently opposed female participation. He said it would be impractical, uninteresting, unaesthetic, and improper. And he said women's primary role should be to crown the victors, since they were, above all, a companion to men. But you're absolutely right. They had been allowed to compete from 1900, but only in 5 sports, and they were considered the kind of
Sewing.
Sewing, yes, was a big one. It was tennis, croquet, golf, sailing, and equestrian. And with the fact of this, so in 1922 they held their own Olympics in Paris. 20,000 people attended. There were 18 world records set. One of the more amazing events is that one on the right, is the two-handed javelin. And athletes had to throw once with their right hand, then once with their left hand, and the score was the combined distance of the two.
So sort of ambidextrous.
Yes,
And then your teammate had to catch it.
Yeah.
You want to be the one who had to measure when people were throwing the javelin left-handed.
So up until the mid-1900s, female swimmers had to wear blouses and bloomers in the pool. They used to play tennis in dresses that covered the ankle and multiple petticoats and corsets and so on, shoes with heels.
But I think that's why it took so long for women to get involved in sports, because I run and it's all about 2 bras.
Yeah.
Keeping, nothing should move.
Because otherwise, I'm going to take your eye out.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like giving tips out at race days, sometimes to middle-aged men, to be honest.
I was not a very big sports fan at school at all, because I come from quite a big family and all my stuff was hand-me-downs. So I'd be the only boy in the sports field with a training bra. So I know what you're talking about, yeah.
The very first American woman to win an Olympic medal, she never knew she'd done it. Her name was Margaret Abbott. She won the golf in 1900, but the entire tournament was such a shambles that she assumed it was just a regular sports contest.
Well, she didn't realise it was the
She
Olympics.
didn't realise it was the Olympics. In fact, she died in 1955 without ever realising that she'd earned an Olympic medal. And in fact, her mother also entered the same competition in 1900. That's the only instance we have of mother and daughter taking part in the same Olympics.
During the London Olympics, I went for a run, and I live in East London, so there's a chance.
And now is the winner. Surprise, surprise. Have you run marathons, Gary?
Yes, I have. I ran the London Marathon. I wore 3 bras that day because it was a special occasion. So I quite enjoyed it in a strange way. But I've got 2 teenage kids at home, so I'm just glad to get out of the house.
Yes. There was a huge thing about the marathon. So in 1967, there was a woman in the United States called Kathy Spitzer, and she attempted to run the Boston Marathon. It's a very famous photograph. The person on the right of her is the race official called Jock Semple. He attempted to tear the number off her back. He was so angry, and that's her boyfriend trying to make sure that she can actually finish. And afterwards, the man in charge of the race, the Boston Athletic Association director, Will Cloney, asked his opinion of her competing in the race. He said, "I don't make the rules, but I try to carry them out. There's no space in the marathon for any unauthorized person, even a man. That girl, my daughter, I would spank." She did finish, but it came on 5 years before the rules changed.
Tell you what, men are like...
When is it cool to wet your pants?
Is it when it's like in a hot situation?
Obviously, going to be, yes, somewhere hot.
Somewhere where your wee is cooler than everything else around you.
Okay,
What
it's
if you've had a really cold drink and you get it out?
Jellyfish, you know, when you have to pee on a... Because my daughter got stung by a jellyfish in
Right.
South Africa, and she was crying, really upsetting. So I pulled my tankini, which is what older women wear instead of a bikini. I pulled it to the side to pee, and the sight of my pulled to the side gusset
Yes.
fully stopped her crying. it's me not to pee on the stick. Is it to do? No.
Does she still have dreams about
She
this?
does,
Yeah.
and you know we're working on
Best.
it. We're working
Okay.
it through.
I think we're all going to have dreams about it.
In space.
It is not in space. We're not doing people at all, and wet their pants is more of a... What's another expression for pant?
An animal pants.
Animal panting. So it is ostriches, in fact. Ostriches have a capacity for water. They can swallow up to 10 litres of water in one go, and then what they do is they pant really quickly so that the air that they bring into their bodies evaporates the water, and it works exactly the same way as us evaporating sweat on our skin in order to keep us cool. And they have to avoid getting too much oxygen into their bloodstream while they do this, and so as they pant, their windpipe redirects the air away from the lungs. Essentially, they pant without breathing. Did you know this? They're the only birds to have a blood. It's simply too heavy to be carried around big blood and so on. But the flightless ostrich was very interesting. So there's a take away for you. Birds don't breathe. Who knew that?
Any creature that's got an eye here and an eye there that goes that way, you know.
Yeah. The thing that we know about them is that it's possible that they dream. What do you think an ostrich would dream of?
Flying. It might dream it could fly like me.
Yeah.
Because they can't, can it?
No, they're just too heavy. They're between 6 and 9 foot in height, and they're 140 as much as 300 pounds. And they look quite massive.
I really do think they're quite creepy. Would you like them more if they could actually fly? Can you imagine? They're sitting in the sky.
They fly with their necks up, or they just put their necks forward. Looking behind them. They do that all the time. The first one that went up and do.
I'd like to have an ostrich though, because one scrambled ostrich egg is the same as 25 chicken eggs. That's just you've only got to go and collect one.
For saving time as well, you have to break 25 chicken eggs.
Their necks go the wrong way, so when they're running, if you show an ostrich running and reverse the film, it looks like a person. It looks like Bernie Clifton. It looks like it's running that way, but its body's on backwards. Do you get it? You see it? So if it was running that way, it'd be Bernie's got to get his whole... If he'd had major surgery in about 1977,
It sounds like they've done quite a lot of research.
I shared a dressing room with Bernie Clifton at the recent Royal Variety before.
Did you?
Did you?
Me, Bernie Clifton and the Chapel Brothers.
Talk about knowing your place in show business.
I've been doing stand-up with Neon a very long time, nearly 30 years, and I was such a junior person in that room. Absolutely love it. And the older guy, I cannot remember the Chapel Brothers' name. Paul and Barry, but I can't remember. I was pulling out, went round looking at a lot of dancers about some socialising, and me and Barry and Bernie, we all stayed in the room, and the girl was sort of allocated to look after us. She goes, anything? And Barry goes, want a tea? Like a tea? And she goes, do you want any sugar? And Barry goes, yeah, 6. That's 6. And he goes, are they sachets? And she said they are, and he goes, yes, 6.
I like to think that they totally ignored you for the whole time.
They've no idea who I was.
But you're right about the legs, and then look at the extraordinary feet of the ostrich. They're amazing. So the scientific name is Struthiocamelus. So it's from the ancient Greek, literally means camel sparrow. And the Greeks considered it similar to the camel because if you look at the hooves of the ostrich, if you look at the hooves of the camel,
Now hang on, what's what? The ostrich
the
is on
ostrich
the left.
on the left, yeah, and the
Okay,
camel on the right.
that's toes.
That toenail, that needs bringing in,
Yes,
doesn't it?
that's it.
He's getting through some socks with that, isn't he?
Unlike any other bird, and also they have this in common with camels, ostriches have eyelashes. They can bat them.
That was a good noise, you made there.
Just did not know you were anti-ostrich.
was vegetarian.
Yeah.
So they gave me ostrich steak. And I wasn't vegetarian, I just said it because I'm between goats.
Yeah. Is it lean? Is it?
It's lean. It's actually Aldi were promoting it as being very lean and cheaper and better for you.
We must try this Aldi place.
All these supermarkets are like anagrams.
Yeah.
They have a proper word.
Like what? What would you like it to be called?
Sainsbury's.
Am I the only person here who isn't being sponsored by a supermarket? Sainsbury's Trade is excellent value. Of course, for white
Right, moving on. What's the wrong way to get out of a car?
Sunroof.
Yeah, that's not good, is it? But let's all imagine we're driving in the UK. So let's all do driving.
Okay, how can I do my driving, please?
Driving, we're right.
Turn on this.
We're going to park, put brake.
Yeah.
Okay, brake now. Right hand brake. Yeah, so now I want you to open the door. Open the door.
Yeah.
You've done like that. What have you done like that? So, none of that. Yes. And if you never learn anything else from this show, learn this thing, which I think is wonderful. You should always do what is called the Dutch reach. You have to open a hand exactly that, furthest from the door. And what it does is it makes you
Makes you look.
automatically look over your shoulder. It's to spot particularly oncoming cyclists. So in the Netherlands, it is required as part of the driving test, and it prevents what's called dooring, which is basically just getting a cyclist to your car door. It's the simplest.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
It's suggested when people get out of the car this way that they just go,
And they do. They do. So you know that noise? Yes, it's a throwback to the old days. So we like that noise. It's the first thing that we hear when we get a new car. So about 15 years ago, new safety standards meant the door design was changed, and it also changed the noise when it closed. It made it sort of tinny and metallic. So they changed the mechanism to make that sound. So the door doesn't need to make that sound, that clunking thing, but actually we want it to. We like that
it's
noise. Yeah.
If they can choose the noise, I'd have like spooky creaking door.
So the idea of making cars seems a little bit old-fashioned. It's not a new idea. 1899, a patent was filed for a horsey horseless vehicle that was a motor car with a full-size wooden horse head attached to the front.
It's brilliant.
The idea was that the car looked like a horse, it wouldn't scare the other horses.
I think if I was a horse and I saw the head of a horse, cause more trouble than it was fun.
An ostrich on the front. Only Clifton driving.
So, out of the car and into the closet. What's the most exciting thing you can do in a cupboard that begins with O?
Orlando Bloom.
I organise my pants.
Organising is a good one. Yes.
Organising,
Yeah.
I enjoy
Do you
that.
organise your pants, Josh?
Not my pants, but you know,
What?
What would you organise?
well, just like a soiree.
And you say you put your pants in a cupboard.
Well, you can do, darling. It's not that weird.
I thought a cupboard was like, in the kitchen.
So it's a new thing. You sometimes have cupboards in bedrooms.
Yeah.
It's never going to take off. You're absolutely.
That's the larder. I call the cupboard in the kitchen the larder.
Yeah. See, we've all got different names.
And in the bedroom, it's the cupboard. Or the
Yeah.
hanging one's the wardrobe.
Because my girlfriend who I live with's got too many.
She's in a cupboard.
I understand that. I spent years in the closet. I'll tell you.
Exciting. Do you
Yes,
mean
exciting, yes.
like physically,
Unbelievably physically exciting. So who is this in the picture?
or is Becca? Because
So
he
it is-
conceived
we
a
are-
child in a
we
cupboard,
are-
didn't he?
we are in a sexual area.
Orgasming in a cupboard.
It is an orgasm in a cupboard, but it's a very specific one.
Oh,
So
not that Woody Allen film, The Orgasmatron.
it is exactly this sort of thing. So in 1940, there was an Austrian psychologist called Wilhelm Reich, and he started building. There he is. Doesn't look
What
much.
He's got Chris Packham's haircut.
He was to harness the power of a force that he called Orgo, an amalgam of orgasm and ozone, and he said, other people call it God, and he was all around us. That was sort of what made the sky blue, for instance. So the idea was that you had one of these compartments, you climbed naked into his special cupboard. This is for illustration purposes only, but ideally she should be naked. And you absorbed the concentrated organ within it to reach a state of sexual satisfaction. And that could cure anything from, I don't know, cancer to blisters. It was really...
The people in that box, are they volunteers or hostages?
People wanted to do this. It was hugely popular. So 1940, he believed that sexual repression was responsible for almost all physical, psychological, emotional problems and so on.
That's fair.
He was a slightly strange fellow. So, yeah.
Does it clean itself like one of those toilets?
Lots of celebrities owned these cupboards. J.D. Salinger, Norman Mailer, Sean Connery had one.
Let's go to
The vibrator was developed by Victorian doctors. It was developed to stop women being hysterical.
Yeah, absolutely right. So it's widely believed that it was very damaging to women if they didn't orgasm enough. I think that's entirely true.
We had steam-operated vibrators, the first ones.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering why he's a bit late to the party with this cumbersome.
Well, the thing is that this doesn't actually touch your gender in any way. It's this thing called orgo, which he believed was in the ether and that it would accumulate within the cupboard. And
Oh, so
this
that's
would
a
make you
mask,
feel.
is it?
No, it's just to go into the cupboard. It's an orgo shooter. I'm trying to make it more sensible than it really is. No, the US courts formally declared that orgo doesn't exist and all of the cupboards were ordered to be destroyed, all of the literature. And in fact,
you could just convert it into a pen cupboard.
yeah, you could have. Bright was imprisoned for not complying with the ban, so he actually ended up dying from prison. But you're absolutely right. This whole thing about orgasm, Victorian doctors, it was not uncommon for women with hysteria that they needed to get rid of. They thought it was anxiety, irritability, bloated stomach, any of these things could be got rid of. And the prescription was to have a pelvic massage, and it was a routine part of doctors' work.
It's like one of those Olympic sports. 34 feet, personal best.
How many seconds? 6. I don't think I can do better than that.
They used to complain about it, didn't
The
they?
doctors thought it was dull work, and so there was a doctor called Dr. J. Mortimer Granville, and he pioneered the very first vibrator. It was known as Granville's hammer. It makes you percuss to yourself.
Did he used to just hit women on the head? Put yourself together.
It's great, the Barker.
Yeah.
That quote isn't attributed to anyone.
Which very
Let's just say it's great. The Evening Standard.
Yes. I think that man is telling you how marvellous it is, Mr. James Barker.
And that smile on his face, do you reckon he's using one himself?
It's for girls only. Girls only.
Stephen Baxter did. Don't you?
I've been there.
Wilhelm Reich thought the solution to all our problems was an orgasm in a cupboard. What definitely won't happen to you when you sneeze?
You won't have a 16th of an orgasm.
Isn't it a 10th?
Is it a
That
10?
might be inflation, I don't know.
Is there a little thrill to be had from sneezing?
Apparently, well, that was the myth. That if you sneeze, you just go.
Physically sneeze with your eyes open, isn't that right?
Yeah, well, we did say that sneezing with your eyes open can't make them pop out, but in fact, that is not entirely correct. If you have something called floppy eyelid syndrome, the sneeze can in fact force your eyeball out of your socket.
And we're all going to have a go.
Like this. So it'd be like that, and then it and out to the give it a go, have a sneeze. So there's a technical name for it. So if your eyeball actually pops out spontaneously, obese men get this syndrome where eyelid can pop out, so the upper eyelid becomes very floppy and it's easily turned inside out. What the medical advice would be is if your eyelid popped out, pop it
Very
back.
nice.
Get it back in as quickly as possible. Yeah, no, don't put it on ice. Don't think it's still attached, most likely.
If it's still attached,
Yeah.
look around corners so you can quickly see that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on you.
Just draw eyes on the eyelids, so people think you can still see them.
Yeah.
Then you walk into things, and you can't.
No, but what are you going to do about the eyeball that's out? You're just going to leave it hanging on your cheek. What are you going to do?
Come Halloween, your trick or treating is going to be top notch.
I think the advice is to get a medical person to do it, don't you? And apparently they use a tool that looks a bit like a paper clip, which has to be. Yes. It has happened. There was an American basketball player called Akil Mitchell in early 2017.
No.
He got poked in the eye during a game. He fell to the ground. He was clutching his face, and he described afterwards he knew something was wrong because he could feel his eyeball on his cheek and could still see out of
Oh my God.
And they popped it back.
it. They popped back. He's absolutely fine now.
Can you just do it with your finger? Do you need the
No,
pen?
my advice is to
If it
honestly,
happens-
this is a moment for a doctor. If you have a child and one of their eyeballs fall out, don't go, darling, stop fussing and But losing your eye, there's a famous moment in history. Federico de Montefeltro, he was a famous military man during the Renaissance in Italy, and he lost an eye during a jousting tournament. And he was so paranoid about plans to assassinate him, and the fact that he couldn't see on one side of his face. He had a notch cut. He basically had the bridge of his nose cut off, so that he could still see on the other side. So he could see across.
Oh my God.
Now, who'd like to see a seriously eye-popping demonstration?
As long as no one's eyes coming out, I don't like this whole area.
Okay, so what we're going to do...
You get out of Hoover now, that's
Look
going
at
to be...
this. So, let me just put this here. I'm hoping I'm going to get this the right way around. And then I have...
Is that a steam-powered vibrator?
It's adapted. Okay, so we can see that we have got a mirror here, and if you look at this one, you can see squares, and if you look in the mirror, you can see circles. And if I take this one and I turn it, you can see a square up here and a circle down here. And if I then carry on turning it and keep going around like this, you can see that this one at the bottom will turn into a square, and that one will turn into a circle. So I can get my hand in. You can see the square, you can see the circles in there, and as I turn and I keep turning it like this, you'll see it change, and the one in the mirror becomes the square, and this
Don't
one
like that.
becomes the circle. And the same with this one here, as I turn it. It is faintly astonishing, isn't it? You can see it becoming the circles.
Oh wow.
That's
amazing.
What's happening?
I know. It is called the ambiguous cylinder illusion. It is designed by
Catchy name.
It is. Designed by a man called Dr. Sugihara Kokichi. And from one angle, the shapes look circular, while in the other angle they look like cuboids. And in fact, they are a cross between the two. Squircles, or rather squircle prisms. And if you want to make this at home, you absolutely can. Just look up ambiguous cylinder illusion cutout, and there's a template for a paper version, so you can work out how to do it. So I'm just going to put that one away.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. Do give it a go, because I think it's really extraordinary. And the fact that our brains are flawed in this way is what distinguishes us from robots. And robots wouldn't be fooled by optical illusions. Only human beings are fooled by optical illusions. There's a very famous thing called the Adelson checkerboard illusion. So this is a checkerboard, all right? And if you look at it, you would imagine that there are light squares and there are dark squares. But in fact, what's happened is the green cylinder there has cast a shadow. And what happens is our eyes correct. What is the truth of that is A and B are exactly the same colour. So if you simply join them together, just those squares, but because we've understood there's a shadow from the green cylinder, we have in our minds made B a lighter colour. But actually, A and B are exactly the same colour.
Oh, is this how the robots are going to finally defeat us?
Well, this is...